So, good evening, everyone. Starting class. Just can you have you guys write your names down on this sheet of paper as I pass around? Those of you who are online, I'll get you on that sheet later on, so don't worry. Um, this week, yeah, here we go. So basically, we're doing a collection mini game as our assignment, our lab this week. Um, Pay attention to what I'm doing because the slides don't reflect what I actually want you to do. Um, and I'm actually going through the slides right now. I realize the early lecture that I need to change the slides. And there'll be a couple points where like, yeah, that's weird. We're not doing that. um, so basically, there is a FBX file that I'd like you to go basically download it and import it. And there's issues with how it's in. There'll be issues with it, and we'll deal with that when we get into. Um, here's the file. Actually, let's go use the. That's not the slides I want. Oh boy. Okay, slideshow. Just put that right over there for right now. Okay, so we're going to make a collection mini game. Again, not all the slides have been updated, so I'm going to go through this as fast as possible. Again, we're going to implement the game, going to show how you use the game mode to find rules of the game. We're looking at macros, custom events, functions. You've already created timers, so that's not an issue. We're going to use inheritance and function overlaying. This is something that's new to, and I need to not have a capital O. This is new. We're going to use inheritance and function overlaying to create a collection of similar classes. So basically, there's going to be a base pickup item that we're going to create, and then off of that, we'll create children that do different things. And then, so this is one of those, we're going to convert the rules into blueprint code, organize macros, events, draw some information using the HUD classes. And this is iffy, be quite honest. Next, we're going to get to UMG at some soon, and that will replace how we actually do this. This is just basically drawings. You wouldn't do this in game, in a production setting, be quite honest. You will define functions using custom events, and how to turn them on, and then inherit from classes you create and change behavior child clues by overriding functions. So that's what we're looking at. And why is go? All right. They're going to be four four classes. And the third person character, this comes from the game itself, the template itself. The next one is going to be BB Collectible. This is an actor class that represents a collectible item. It checks collision with the player and knows what to do when collected. BB Collection Game Mode, and this is again what I've renamed. If you look at the current slides, it's named differently. This is controls the state of the game, stores some variables such as for time and score, also finds the base classes such as the third person character, and then the BB Collection on. This is responsible for drawing the values of time or score onto the screen. I will update. This is showing a level. This is something I'm removing from it. So this is I will update this a screenshot of this later on once I get, this will be up, like there's images that will be updated as well in this as well. So don't worry. Let's actually just jump into Unreal. Let's just start file. We'll do a new level. I'll do basic. I mean, I could go start from. I'm just going to do this basic level. It's probably giving me more than I need. So I'm going to start with my player in the middle here. And so if I go press play, again, this is from my previous HUD. Let's go look at my world settings. Let's pull this out. So I'm not using a game mode at the moment. Let's look at my, so I've got a player mode, I've got a game mode set and a HUD set somewhere else. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to my content draw. And I've already made a folder called collection minigame. We're going to go in here and set things up. All right, first thing is I'm going to create a new blueprint class, and it's going to be a game mode base. We talk about the class being game mode. The actual class that we're using is called game mode base. And the reason for this is that game mode comes from the Unreal Tournament back, early Unreal Tournament. And what happened is that they wrote things for Unreal Tournament into the game mode, the core game mode class. And at some point in UDK, they realized they needed to separate that out. So they basically made a new game mode base. So they kept anything that was Unreal specific in game mode and made a new game mode base class that was more generic. And that's why we see that here. So we are going to do game mode base, and this is going to be BP underscore collection game mode. So this will be our class. I'm going to go in and make another blueprint class just right away. Let's get these big ones out of the way. And I'm going to go down to all classes and search for HUD. And this will be our, select the HUD, BP collection HUD. And then finally, the other fourth one that we're going to start with a blueprint class will be an actor. And this will be BP underscore collectible. So this will be the base class of all of our collectible items. And we'll do multiple different collectibles based off this class. The fourth class basically is the third person. So it's under third person blueprints right here. Let's go in just to see. And right now it's got this fire button and this NE. I'm going to take these out actually and delete them because we don't need them. And just for the sake of argument, I'm actually going to go and make a create a child blueprint class. We're going to move this to the other folder. This will be our BP collection pawn. And I'm just going to put this here just so we've inherited from this, from that class, from that class. This is inheriting from character. Character again inherits from pawn, and that inherits from actor. I'm going to move this to my collection minigame. Move here. Actually, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put that here. I'm going to copy here. And I'm going to go back to my collection minigame, and I'm actually going to delete this. Delete, yeah. And then I will actually go and rename this BP collection pawn. So that's going to make this cleaner. So first thing I'm going to go is going to go to my game mode, and I'm going to go to my HUD class, and we're going to select our collection HUD, and our default pawn class is going to be our BP collection pawn. And I'm going to compile this. We'll come back to the game mode later on. This file right now, I'm actually going to go to set the game mode to my collection game mode. And you can see right there, it set the pawn and HUD to those when I selected that. So basically, I'm right now setting the game mode per the file. And I'm going to go and I'm going to save current level as, go to my collection game, and this will be collection mini game. I'm going to save my game mode as well. We will come back and we will add things to it. So basically, I want to basically set things up in general, um, so we can go out. All right, let's go back to our slides just quickly. Um, so the rules. Player collects as many items as before times are out. So time is going to be set to a value, and then it's going to come down. Initial time is set at 30 seconds. Game is over when there's no time remaining. There'll be multiple classes of collectible items, and we'll start with the first collectible, and then we'll run other. And then each class will have its own logic how it's handled being picked up. Some are removed from the map. Some teleport to other locations. Some have um, some may have an effect on the game itself. For example, we'll make a collectible that adds 5 seconds to the time when you pick it up. Each class will award different number of points to the player, and then time and score values will be drawn on the screen. We'll also get the number of pickups as well. So we'll go through that. Creating the project through new we're going to start with a third person project. We already been working with one, so we're just going to roll with that project here for right now. Pollution game mode, again, we're going to, BP collection game mode. Again, we're using the BP underscore. It's a prefix that will help us sort classes out. This is a blueprint class. And there's basically 4 values that we're going to use: score, statue count, time, and then a boolean to determine that's set when the game is over. So you'll see in here there is a level value that I have to change out. But don't worry, that's something that we're going to ignore. There's some convoluted stuff that they're doing with the level that we're not gonna do. So let's go back to Unity. Let's go to Unity. Let's go back to Unreal right now, and let's start with our variables. And we will start with the first one will be game over, and I will actually do is game over as opposed to just, and that's because when you're writing booleans, they should be really best formed in a form of a question. I'm going to do 3 more. These are going to be integers. So I'm going to do. So the first one is going to be time remaining. Next one will be our game score. And the last one will be items collected. And I will be updating slides to reflect this. We're actually going to do one more, and that's going to be starting time. And this one we're going to make as instance editable. All right. I'm going to compile. And now we're going to, so one of the things that we can do is that what we want is now a collection. So basically we have categories, and we want to start using these categories. You can actually now drag like time remaining into here, starting time, here's my game score and items collected, so I can reorder them. And this puts them in a category that will help us. Again, particularly with the starting time. Now that we've compiled, we can actually put the 30 in here. And we're going to do, and this is something that they don't do in the slides, and I'm going to add to the slides as well. So we have a variable here that sets our starting time. We'll be able to come here later on and set that up. So one of the things that they do is they create a macro. And the thing about macros is that it has inputs and could have outputs. It could have neither. Well, neither doesn't make sense. But one of the things is that if you want to use this like a function, The first one is you need to so we're going to make this variable called out. We'll call that in, and this will set to an exec. So it's an execution pin. This is not going to have any outputs. This is just basically, again, this macro ultimately is going to be renamed. This is going to be start game. And in theory, we'd have an end game as well, is another scenario. But here, when we start the game, basically we're setting things up. So is game over, we're going to set, and that's going to be off. The time remaining, we're going to set, and this is where we're going to grab our starting time and grab that and place that in there. Game score, we're going to set, and that's going to be the 0. And then items collected, we'll set that, and that'll be 0 as well. And this is, we'll keep this. So this is what we're starting with. And we'll compile this. All right. Let's go to our content draw. Let's bring up our collection pawn. All right. One of the things that the slides are going to have you do is when you hit return, so this is going to be the keyboard, enter. When pressed, we want to go to our game mode. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get game mode. Now, this is where things get interesting. This is the return value is of type the game mode base. Our macro that we want, essentially a function that we want, is in a child class of the collection game mode. So the first thing we need to do is drag out a line from there, and we're going to type cast to collection game mode. So when we have, references of children of a parent class can be stored in their parent class because they are of that type. When you do that, though, you are locked to the references, like because this is typed right now as a game mode base. We have everything access up to that level, but nothing of our children. So this is why we cast it from that reference to another reference type. And then so in here, and this is, we know this will work. This will be as it casts off. Here we want to call start game. What did I call it? Yeah. Start play. That's not what we want. No. What am I doing? I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab all of this, and I'm going to delete this as a macro. I really want this as a function. I tend to not use, so I'm going to just basically plug this in this way. And compile, we'll go back to the pawn, and now off of this, here's the start game. There we go. So when we start the game, basically this is going to kick off. And I'm just going to basically here I'm going to just print string game restarted. Now later on we're going to remove this node, but this is just so we can see this in action right now. So we compile, we can go press play, and I can hit return. You can see the game has restarted. So we will see things on screen in a moment, but right now hey, we've got the game. We know that at least that game is starting off. We've got the game starting off. The game mode. There are two functions that I want to write in here, and the first one is uh, collected item. And ultimately, this is going. I'm going to start with an input of our the type. The class here is going to be our BP collectible. So collected item. And when this happens, so the first thing, the we'll just go right now. Items collected. We're gonna get it, and we're gonna go plus plus. Let's go to our blueprint. Here is our, and we're gonna go in here. We're gonna add a variable right now, right away. This is cool. This will be an integer. Um, we'll just call it score awarded, and I'm gonna compile, and I'm just gonna say this is 100, just to start off. I'm gonna put that in right now, and go so I can go back to my game mode, and because we're here, we can then get score awarded, and then we can then get our game score. It's over here. And we add these two together, and then set our game score. We'll wire that in. And now that I've got that, it makes sense now to do this in this order. Add 1 to the items collected. And we'll just, again, do another print string item collected. So this will get called, when we pick up the item, this will get called, and we'll basically pass this. Why are we doing this is that maybe later on will be holding on to items. There may be items, things that we may be doing with the game mode. Um, Basically, ideally, the item tells the game mode, hey, I've been collected, here's the information you need. Yeah, well, it passes itself. I've been collected, and then from me, you can again through the reference here, we can access its information. And let's go back to just collectible and just make sure score award. Let's make this instance. We want to make this instance edible. So we can change this on the fly on each instance and in the children classes. Now let's save everything so we've got that. What's your game mode? Yeah, the next thing that we want to do is a function. We're just going to call it clock. And this is going to go in, and it's going to basically time remaining, and we're going to decrement that. And then the next thing we're going to do is basically is an if statement. We'll put that over here. If that is less than or equal to, and again, we could do equals, but I am a little bit of paranoia, so I'm going to use less than equal to, and we'll use that if it's less than or equal to 0. If that's true, Then we are going to um, game over. We're going to set game over to being true. So now that we've got this, we're going to compile, and we're going to go to our event graph. And on begin play, we're going to set timer by function name, and it's going to be clock is our function. Time 1, so it's every second, and it's going to loop. I'm going to remove the tick for now. We don't need that. And then we're going to go back to clock. The one thing, if time over, then we're going to remove clear timer by function name. And again, down here is going to be clock. So we're going to turn off the timer. So when we get to end game over, basically we're going to hit return and we'll reset everything. So far, so good. All right, compile, and we'll save everything. All right, let's go and let's get the HUD. Let's just get the HUD up and going just so that we can see things. And I'm going to make two functions right away. This is game. So this is going to draw game HUD. And this is draw game over HUD. Okay. In our event graph, we don't need any of these right now. What we are going to use is a node called event receive draw HUD. And this is going to take the, so we're going to get our game mode. So in here, they're going, basically they show, hey, let's make a variable of our game mode. And this will be of our BP collection game mode. And so what they're saying here is on begin play, we're going to basically we're going to set that value. So again, we need to get game mode, and then we're going to cast it to the BP collection game mode. Break this link. And so we'll wire it exactly there, and then the BP as the value. And so basically this allows us to use this. We can get this down here. Ask is game over, which we're going to just plug into an if a branch. And this allows us to go draw the game HUD. That's if it's true. And draw the game over HUD if it's false. And again, this simplifies the blueprint into these nodes. Again, use your functions to collapse a bunch of nodes into a single functionality for single purposes. So let's go to the draw game HUD. And basically we need to print, we want to draw what's the correct it is draw text, and we want to use the HUD version of it. So we're going to drag in here. So basically they have green, red, blue are the three texts. So we're going to use the append here. And this is going to be our, I'm going to do, we'll do time. And this is where we'll grab our game mode. And we want time remaining. We'll plug in right there. There's really no good way to stack these. This is going to be red. And we'll do a scale of 2. Now, I know from previous labs, the screen coordinates of 30 and 50 is what we want. So, we're going to do another draw text. In this case, our text value, we're going to do the score. This will be text color 1, I believe. There we go. Here's the yellow. Connect these right here. Grab the game mode one more time. And this is going to be get game score. We'll plug in there. And then we'll do one more. We'll just call this items. Again, we'll grab the game mode one more time. Items collected. And we'll plug that into here. Of course, doing a conversion each one of these time. So for each of these, so we start at 50 here. I'm going to go to, I think, 75. And then I'll do 120. Wait a second. 50. I'll do 100. Okay. And then we'll make this one, we'll make it green. I'm just grab this node, and I'm going to go to my other. So this is the function that the draw game HUD. So the game over HUD, basically we're going to just paste this in. For our purposes, this is going to go to red. Well, the text here is game over. And we'll make this a scale of 4 just to jump it up. So if we compile, and we go back to our mini game right now, we'll run it. You can see that, here we go, it is -1. That's interesting. Oh, I've got it backwards. That's going on. Let's go back to my event graph. And yeah, so I've got these backwards. Break this link, break this link. Compile, press play. And it's game over right away. What's going on? So go to the game mode. I'm going to go to my time remaining variable. Oh, okay, it's that's my clock. Where's my start game? Let's go to my event graph. Oh, I'm not calling the start game function. That's why. There we go. This actually should not be here. I'm going to copy this out. And I go to my back to my start game, and I'm going to remove that, and I'll press that, and I'll plug that into here. There we go. So that makes more sense to put it in this function. Okay, so we'll go, we'll press play, and you can see time is now ticking down. Now, there's nothing in the scene for me to collect or any items to pick up, but that is, hey, the game is running. And if we wait a few more seconds, we'll see that that's going to convert back over to convert to the game over. We got a few more seconds left before that. And so game over, and we can hit return. You can see there we go. And I'll hit return one more time, and it goes back. Time went back to 30. So all of that structurally is now in place. Cool. Now all we have to do is now actually build out the collectible. So I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to save everything, and I'm going to I don't need the pawn. Yeah, I'll just need I need the collectible. All right, I'm gonna keep this default scene root because I'm basically we're gonna add two items. Basically is a static mesh, and we're going to add and we're going to use the capsule collision. I found the capsule. I started with a sphere, but I found that was too big for our purposes. The radius was too big, too wide. The capsule was more in line with what we wanted to do. So, and I need the capsule underneath a scene because we want to lift this up. Hello, move up. Location 50. There we go, 40. And so capsule half height was 44. We moved it up 40. For the static mesh, we're actually going to go in and we're going to use there's the SM statue, and it comes in with this glass material. So we're going to compile this. And then once I compiled, it gave me access to the materials. I'm going to change this from the statue glass. I'm going to change this over to the default, the gold material. And that's going to make this easier to see. I am going to go down. I'm going to generate overlap events, but I'm going to use trigger as the collision preset. So I will compile one more time to make, and we'll save. And I'm just going to go into my construction, my event graph. I'm just going to delete all these for right now. And I'm going to go and I'm going to click on the capsule. So I'm going to rename this be the collision. And the static mesh, I'm going to rename this to model. And that's something you will see on a regular basis in Unreal, is that off the default scene root, we'll have our collision in our model. Why am I keeping the default scene root? Is because I may want to change my collision. I may want to change the model by instance. And if I scale one, then I have to scale the other has to affect. So this is just me keeping the default scene root for sake of sanity. All right. I am going to go to my collision, and I'm going to go to add event for collision, and begin overlap. And I'm going to basically print. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to basically only deal with the player model. So for our purposes, what we need is we want to go what is the other actor overlapped, and we're going to try and cast to my BP collection pawn. That's the class that we're using. And in other games, you'll have this would be the base class, like your base pawn class for your game, and then all your classes. Like again, let's take Team Fortress. There are 9 different class types in there. There is essentially a base. If we were to implement in Unreal, there would be a base pawn class for all of our characters, and each of those specific classes would be a child of that class, so that we could write specific generic code to all classes without having to worry about was it specific classes. So, and if this is the case, for our purposes, what we want to do is basically say we're going to do print string. We'll just use hello for right now, or We'll just do overlap. So we'll compile, and we'll go back to our game, and we're going to drop a couple collectibles into the map. And we'll press play. Now we can go and see that we are now overlapping. But we haven't done anything in terms of... So now we know that. The next thing that we want to do back in our collectible, so we'll remove that, is essentially we're going to go to get the game mode. And we're going to cast to the BP collection game. And then we're going to then say add, what did I call it? So I'm going to go in and I'm going to rename this to add collected item. Again, functions, these are verbs. So basically, adding the word add makes it easier, understandable what that function is, and make it easier to get at. So add collected item. And the collective item in this case is going to be the reference to self, this item. So basically we've now done the call to the game mode. And for our purposes right now, I'm going to use destroy actor. We are going to remove this node. We're going to do something else instead. But we're going to compile. As the game mode is the target right here. Sorry. So now we can go back, make sure we save everything, and we'll press play. You can see that, hey, it is collecting them. And there we go. We've collected everything in the scene. So we're going to go back, and we'll go back to our collection game. And there is the add collection item. I'm going to take out the item collected because we don't need to see that anymore. Because we know that now the HUD's up and working, we can see this is working. And now that we've got things, so we've got everything in place for that to work. So, all right. So we are destroying the actor. I'm going to create a new function, and it's going to be on taken. And for our purposes right now is going to be, we're going to say, hey, let's play a sound at location. And we're going to use the explosion. So when you're using in Unreal, Um, you typically want to be using cues as opposed to sound waves. You could, but you typically want to use a cue. That's the format which, and I know there's a new format as well. But basically you want to be using this version because it has properties of how it should be played. So we'll use the sound cue. We're going to get actor location. We'll plug that in. And then we will also spawn emitter at location. We're going to use the explosion emitter. Pull this out. Again, just grab that node. I'm going to plug it back in right here. We're not going to deal with any rotation. We're not going to deal. I mean, in theory, actually, let's do this properly. Get active rotation. No, that's not what I want. Get actor rotation. We'll plug that in. And so now when I compile, I'm going to go back to my event graph. Rather than doing destroy actor, we're going to use the onTaken. Why are we doing this? Later on, we will change, children classes will change how onTaken is being performed. So we're going to compile, and we'll save everything. And now, and the one thing I forgot to do in the onTaken was the destroy actor. So I'll go save. We'll go back to the minigame. There you go. They are exploding as I pick them up. So far so good. And right now, like one of the things that we could be doing, like if from here we've got different places where we can go with this. One be basically we can have the game mode spawn in more. Like when there's nothing in the world, have it spawn in more. I'm going to go into my content draw. I'm going to bring in, again, there was a static mesh, and there's an issue with this static mesh we'll see right away. Import uniform scale. Yeah, we'll leave that. We'll leave the parameter as it is for right now. And it's going to yell about in the message log. It's going to yell about no. It's don't worry about that. It didn't have any smoothing groups to begin with. It's a low poly asset that doesn't supposed to have smoothing groups. It's supposed to look. If I were to fix that, basically the answer to fix that is to put a smoothing group on some faces and not worry about any of the others. So, but you can see that, hey, this is like really small. And that is one of the problems with this object. So let's close this for right now. All right, now that we've got this set up, I'm going to go back to my content draw. I'm going to go right click, and I'm going to create a blueprint child class based on that. And this is going to be BP teleporting item. Now I have a new blueprint class. We'll go in. I'm actually going to save everything just to have it saved. All right, so let's go in and let's take a look at the model. And I'm going to bring in the SMENV, this pillar. And you can see it's small as heck. It was built for Unity. Let's just be honest. And I believe 40, it's getting a little bigger. We can go 35, 35, 35. There we go. So I needed to multiply a scale of 35. And it came in with the gold. It's just just to sake of argument, we'll make this, we'll make it Rust. Yeah, it could have gone in Sea of Thieves. It's from, I know where this is from. Um, it's from an asset pack that's low poly. I wouldn't be so. So here is my teleporting item. All right, I'm gonna go and I'm going to function. This is override section, and here I'm gonna go in and there is on taken, which is what we created in the BP collectible. All right. In this case, it's gonna say, do you want to use what your parent does? For our purposes right now, no. We're gonna completely overwrite what this function is doing. Um, again, the first thing I'm gonna do is gonna play sound at location, and we're gonna get actor location. And here, what did I use? These are all fire. I used the, what is it? Compile. There we go. Compile success queue. So we'll use that for the sake of argument. And then I'm going to make a function here, basically called teleport object. And I'm going to go back to my onTaken and call that. So the goal here is that we're not destroying this object. We're going to move it. We're going to move it around the scene every time every time we pick it up. We're going to teleport it to somewhere else. All right. I'm going to go in here, and essentially, basically, is we're going to set actor location, and new location. We're going to split the struct bin so we can get each of these individually. All right, let's go back to compile. Let's go back to the mini game right now for a second. For these collectibles, back to our details, they're sitting on the zero, on the Z, on the zero. So it's just a matter of where are they in, basically within how much. Like again, right, this object is over -200, -600. So I'm going to say for argument, we're going to bring in, we're going to teleport them in a ring around the center of the world. All right. So we're not going to teleport them directly at like 0, 0. What we're going to do is so the first is we're going to build a random float in range. And we're basically going to say from, say, 250 to 750. Now this is going to give us a value somewhere in a positive value. So what we want to do is then multiply this by a 1, -1 scenario. I'm going to create a new function. And we're going to do get random sign. And this is going to have an output, which is going to be a float, which is the random sign. And we'll output this in a moment. One thing that we're going to do is we're going to make this pure. We'll come back and we'll do the logic for this one moment. So let's just jump back to the teleporter. And I'm going to get the random sign. You can see that by making it pure, it doesn't have an exact note. It's more like, I'm going to flip these around because it'll be easier. Notes, the pins are closer together. But basically, it's more like, hey, get actor location, get this. It doesn't need an exact. And so that allows us to do, again, we can do the multiplication here. And I'm going to grab this, and so I have 2 copies. And that will be my X version, and this will be my Y version. We're going to leave the Z at 0. So for our purposes, we're not putting this. Now, what this means for our game, we now have a limitation of our game. All of our collection items are going to be on the 0 on the Z. Now, if we had terrain and anything like that, we just made our level designers go crazy because we just have a flat floor. Now, later on, if we needed to, we would figure out the X, Y location, and then there's things that we can do with the teleport object later on to support. Hey, the level designers want to use terrain. Level designers want to use elevation. Okay. We will later on we can support that and add more code here to figure out. Okay, we've got our X and Y. Where is the Z location based on that? But that's later on. So we go back to we got teleport. Here's our untaken. Let's go get our random sign. There is a random bool. If branch, is it going to allow me to do? Yeah, here we go. So we're going to break. There we go. So true, false, random sign of 1, random sign -1. Compile, make this look cool. And we should be okay now. So we go back into our collection minigame. Let's go back to our teleporting item. And remember, we had that ward area. And so again, I will go back and let's go back to our collectible. And we do want to give this a category. So this is gameplay. Say compile, save everything. So in teleport here in gameplay, we'll do 25. So we won't award as many points for this because we can collect these over and over again. And I'm going to go save everything. Let's go to our level. And now I'm going to bring in instance of these guys. In fact, I'm going to put this one right here. Save my level. Go press play, and I'll come back, and we'll see. Where did it go? Here. So I went over there. Let's try and get a. See, it's teleporting. So this is one of those. And in theory, I'm still collecting things. All right. So what we can do is we can actually worry about that. Well, how to fix that is another question. Let's make another child. And this is going to be BP Time Lord. Okay. So in this case, my model, I'm going to go and let's see. Is there something? just make a sphere. And I'm going to make this hex, hex tile. I'm going to add another static mesh, and then I'm going to go look. Cube cylinder. Yeah, I'll just use a cylinder. 0.2. It's going to be. I'm on the grid of. I want to be on the grid of 10. There we go. 2, 2. I can do 0.1. And then the material. Where's the material? Compile. Here we go. Hex. Pulse. Rotate it by a little bit. I'll do 1.5. 1.5. There we go. Compile. And then we will, and obviously I'd go in and be like, oh, I'll make an anime and do this, all that stuff. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. I am then now going to go to, again, under functions, I'm going to override, I'm going to use on taken again. Now, to do this correctly, I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my game mode, and I'm going to add a new function. And this is going to be add game time. And it will be an input of a integer added time. And this I'll go right here. This is going to do time remaited. I'm going to set, and then I'm going to get it again. Get. I'm going to add that. Put that into time remaining, and that's all I need here. So I'm going to compile and go back to my time org. We're now, for the sake of argument right now, I'm going to keep the parent on taken in action, but what we're going to do is we're going to get the game mode. No, that's not what we want. Game mode. We're going to cast to BP collection game mode. We'll break this link for right now. I am going to do a variable here, and I'm going to call it time added, and this will be an integer. We'll compile, and this will be 5. And we'll compile to take that, have that take. And now, as the PP game mode, we can do time. Here we go. Starting time. There we go. Add game time. And what is the added time? This is the time added. And I'm going to go here. I'm just going to make sure I'm going to make it editable, so I can have different. I can play with this as we see fit. And I'll compile. And then on the back side of this, we're going to just basically say, oh, we'll just do what our parent does. So these items will explode. And then we can go back to the collection minigame. And we'll drag these orbs. Wow, they're huge. I'm going to have to make these smaller. Oh yeah, I got to make these much smaller. So we'll go back to the time orb. Let's go to the viewport. So this will be, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, I'm I'm going to add a scene, and I'm going to call it model. Well, allow me? No, it's not. Okay, I can't do that. It means I got to do it here. So I'm going to do 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and this is 0.7, 0.7, and I got to move these around just slightly. There we go. So these are gonna be here, and we'll compile, go back, and save everything. So now they're much more reasonable in size. Do I have another one in there? I'll just duplicate this one. I'll duplicate this one as well. And then we'll press play, and you can see that here it exploded, and I've got a collision issue. So the issue that I've got right now is with, and I should have done this on the model to begin with. This should have is collision preset is trigger. The teleporting item, the model preset is trigger. It's this static mesh right here. This is a trigger. Yeah, so this is should have been. In this case, it's blocking all dynamic. I just need to go and set. This really shouldn't have any collision. So I'll compile, make that change, save everything, and now and then all I've got left are these guys. And right now I'm getting double the number of points. I gotta figure out why that is the case, but it's not consistent. And that's something I gotta look at. Something that, because it's not being destroyed. And there is my game over. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna go back to my collection pawn, and there is the jump. So basically, what we want is we are going to get the game mode. We're going to cast to BP collection game mode, and then we're going to is game over. Actually, I'm going to grab all of these. And let's just make a. This is where a macro would come into place. Is game over, and the output basically shove this in. Output will get inputs, outputs is game over. And we need an exec inputs exec in and we need an exec as well. Out. So that'll make our lives a little bit easier. So we go back to our event graph. So what we want basically is it's going to get messy really quickly. if and again we'll grab is game over. Break this link. And we're going to grab this. We need 2 copies of this. Oh. So if game over is started in game over and is false condition, again, I got to flip the order of those. Hold on. Let's go back to the macro. Boom. This is going to be the boolean is game over. Pile. So this is the false, and then we want up the false. And again, this is I think completed. Actually, no, I don't need to worry about this if it's completed. And then I can grab these. So we can plug in there here. And that should be not on true. This is it's not, the game is not over. Yeah. So we can plug, so basically what I'm doing is I'm basically saying if my game is over, don't do movement. So we can do compile. Let's go back to the do starting time. We'll just do 10, just for the sake of argument right now. So we can press play, and then hey, and I picked up a time orb. 4, 3, 2, 1. Why did it? And I didn't output this correctly. There we go. So compile. Again, little things. So off I go. 5, 4. And I have stopped. And I hit return, I can now move again. So little things. Don't move if the don't move if the time is over. And you saw I stopped moving and came to the ground with my jump. That what I just did with the pawn, turning it off with the game over. That's polish. That's not part of the lab. Just polish that I was able to do with time here and now. But this is essentially again, essentially this is our lab. Come up with things that you can do. Again, a lot of casting, a lot of inheritance issues that came up in this lab. And this is going to be normal for what you're going to be doing on a regular basis with Unreal or Unity. Working in object hierarchies and casting between them. It's going to be normal. All right, I'm just going to go back to my collection game. I'm going to reset this to 30. So just because that is what we wanted. And this is a good base. Like you can, there's so many things you can do from here on out to play with this mini game. So much polish that we can do. But for our purposes right now, like hey, flat floor, no big deal. Any questions from what I've done? All right. Again, I'm going to be going over. I'll be going over like these collectibles, the teleporting item, the time orb. Those will be in the slides. Um, yeah, what I did with again here in the event graph, where getting the game over value in the if here, that's extra. That's not going to be in the slides, but it'll be mentioned. I'll mention them in the slides as something that you could do. I'm going to end the recording here.